I'd like to introduce the member for Algester, Mr. Will Fortitude.
If you didn't know, I'm Will Fortitude. That's Will, not Bill, Mr. Cass. During this campaign, there's been one major issue that I've been focusing on: education, or more appropriately, secondary education in this electorate, or the lack thereof. It's got my opponent talking too. I would like to thank my opponent, Jono, for doing so much campaigning for me. He likes to talk about me a lot. I've got no idea about his policy in it, and I'm sure none of you do either, but we all know what he thinks about me and my plans for Algester. I wouldn't usually talk about an opponent directly during my campaign launch, but I'm going to make an exception today because I have been his sole focus in the media rather than what he is going to do. While Mr. Cass has been wearing out the soles of his shoes campaigning, I've been putting measures into place to get things done for my electorate. Impossible things. I'm here to tell you that what I've planned isn't impossible. It is absolutely possible, and it would be irresponsible to not do it. According to the NAPLAN results for Year 9s, the Algester electorate includes some of the worst performing postcodes in southeast Queensland. We have some of the lowest capital expenditure on education in southeast Queensland. Being a metropolitan electorate with 30,000 voters, to try not to do something about these issues is absolutely unconscionable. It's not short-term thinking that I'm planning for the electorate. I'm not promising a school this year or the next or even the one after that. It's a 3-year plan and it's very doable. Mr. Cass has said that there isn't a large enough parcel of undeveloped land in Algester. In the suburb itself, it might be a bit of a squeeze, but there's room next door in Parkinson, which is also in the Algester electorate. In Parkinson, on Algester Road, is one such discussed site at the moment. I want to talk a little bit about why I'm so passionate about education. It's because I didn't really get one. Not through the failings of the education system, or my parents, or society. It was my own fault. I was one of those teenagers who didn't believe education was relevant to me. I squandered my opportunities. My parents had worked hard enough to afford to send me to good schools, and I wasted it, wanting to go out and work. And I did. I worked hard, I made money, and became a successful realtor. But I saw at the same time, other kids that I grew up with in a working class area failed to motivate themselves to rise above the lack of services and improve their situations. And they shouldn't have had to. They were kids. They never had the same opportunities as me to waste. They didn't have the good influences in their lives, didn't have the support, couldn't afford to take risks, yet they still did. They weren't calculated risks because of good guidance from another source. They were stupid risks like drugs and crime, and their lives didn't turn out well. These were talented, intelligent people without the right guidance and were too young to have to take full responsibility for their actions, yet they had to suffer for their choice suffer for the choices they made because of a lack of a decent support network. A support network that can be provided through the education system. I don't want to see a single young person's potential wasted ever again. We have a responsibility to build a better future through education. Algester is a much nicer area now than it was back then. It's full of nice young families, and people have moved to the new developments with certain promises of infrastructure that haven't been fulfilled. And we're sitting on the precipice of whether this area, which is continually growing, goes forward or backwards into a wasteland hidden in the shadows of industry. You elected me because you wanted to try a different flavour, to get rid of the bad taste left in your mouth from 11 years of Labor in Algester. Mr. Cass has had a go at me for not towing the LNP party line. He's still finding a way to be negative when we both want the same thing: better educational outcomes for our area. I support Gonski because it will bring additional federal money to build a better future through education. If anyone looks at the figures like I have, it's obvious that Algester needs to be brought up to speed to its surrounding areas. I will admit I'm breaking ranks because I'm impatient. I can't stand to see my community fall behind. I trust in what my party is doing for Queensland, but I love my area and I see a problem and I want it fixed as soon as possible. Mr. Cass has been looking at me through a Labor filter where he's afraid to step on the toes of factional heavies because of the risk of a knife in the back. The LNP is a little more tolerant of different viewpoints in the party room. We've all known people who have talked about what they're going to do that never go on to doing it. Don't let John O'Keefe Cass be another one. Don't bring that back the sour taste in your mouth that Labor had left when you kicked them out 3 years ago. Vote for me, Will Fortitude. Bring back the flavour and help to create a better future through education for the people of Algester. Thank you.
Okay, and now we'll just take a couple of questions from the press.
Okay. Look, there's speculation. There's a lot of figures being thrown around about tertiary education cuts. 2.3, 2.8. I've heard mentions of 3.1 billion. You know, can you perhaps put some light on this and what's going to go from universities? And
I mean, that's a federal policy, and that's federal Labor, and you know, they've put us behind in debt, like as Labor's want to do, like nationally, and obviously they've got to cut the money from somewhere. I have no control over what the federal government is doing, and I think it's unfortunate they're cutting from tertiary education, but at the same time, to get these reforms through, if that's what needs to be done, then my electorate needs the money from Gonski's.
are you willing to provide support in funding for the NDIS as a state?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, it's a vital program, and the money, I mean, that's why we're cutting so much out of the budget in Queensland, so we can use the money responsibly and funnel it in the directions it needs to go. So that's, you know, at the end of the day, it's not that there is no money, it's just money's been poorly spent for a long time, and once the books are balanced and we focus it in the right direction again, then we can spend it in the right way, in a responsible way that people trust the LNP to do.
Thank you. Thank you.